Hello everybody, Keith here again. As you can see from the tray, I've got a few plants that need repotting for various reasons. My Zygonisia Rhein Blue Angel has been in this mix for quite a while, so I want to at least get it out and have a look and check the roots. It's growing okay. No real problems with it, but this is not doing as well as it has done. I've had more new growths. I've got two, so it's still progressing, but it's not doing what it could do. This one's not been done for a long time. The bark doesn't look too bad, but we've got roots hanging out over the side, and there's at least one root gone right the way through the bottom. So I need to get it out and have a look. This looks like a Phalaenopsis. It is and it's not. This is one that I bought quite a long time ago, and it's rather strange. It's a cross between Renanthera bella and Doritis purple gem. Now, I believe Doritis is now part of Phalaenopsis. That would be Phalaenopsis purple gem. But all the Phalaenopsis end of the sympodial orchid heritage has come through. It's never flowered for me again, but it's never grown like it's grown this year. So hopefully it'll flower next year. The flowers are gorgeous. It puts a long spike out, rather like a Renanthera does, but the flowers are very small, red and Phalaenopsis like, very much not like a Renanthera. This is my Phalaenopsis, again, been in the pot a very long time. I need to have a look at it, because it's pretty much filled the pot. It may need potting up, it may need some old fans taking off, I don't know till I do it. This is the last of the Mazda Valleys I bought. It's an unregistered trade hybrid known as Hawkesiana orchid, and it's one of their Bella Vallia varieties called Pastel. And finally, this is my Tolumnia hawkesiana with a little bit of Spanish moss draped across it that fell off the big plant. The moss on this, it's been on there now well over a year. It's gone green and it doesn't saturate like it should. As I said the other day with some of the other plants that I've got mounted and I remossed, and they seem to have taken on it a treat. In fact, I didn't do a lot with the Gamesa, did I? But this one, the Dendrobium jenkinsii, yeah, you can see in there, it's going green already, but because it's relatively new, that absorbs moisture much better. That dries out in a couple of days. The others all need doing every day, and I'm not convinced that the old moss does it. The other thing that I've noticed with Tolumnias, although not particularly with this one, is they don't like having their leaves with water poured over them. If you remember, I bought two hybrids from Spiceotic Plants. One of them has done quite well, and it's now produced a nice little new growth. And these are all the original leaves, and it seems to be settling quite well, and we've got roots they're going into the moss pad rather than onto the cork, but that moss pad is doing okay. This one though hasn't done as well. There was another fan here which is gone. I obviously did, when I poured water over it, I was careless, and I suspect that what happened was water gathered in the bottom of this and couldn't get away. So what I now have done, I mean, I thought I'd lost it, as you might well imagine, but now again we've got a nice strong new growth coming, and we've got roots all the way through the pad. So again, this doesn't need remossing. The moss is fine. We'll want remossing before an awful lot longer, but while it's putting new growths up like that, I'm content just to let it settle. But I just thought that would be of interest. As my granny would have said, I'm doing one job and making two more. So let's just ease this away. What I don't want to do is damage any roots. That's come off, and there is a root there. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, going down into that hollow in there. Just move the centre of focus, that should be better. So let's get that in there. I hope you can see that. Can't see it very well on the screen I'm using off my tablet, but hopefully it will work a bit better. But this moss was deliberately put on top. It's said that Renanthera don't like wet roots, they don't like dry roots either, in my limited experience. So a little bit of moss I think is fine, but what I don't want to end up with is something that's just, and there we've got a piece of moss there which has ended up underneath the plant. It's grown over it. Right, what we've got is quite a healthy root system, it seems to me. Now, can we zoom in on that and still get it in focus? I hope so. There's a long root there, which is obviously viable. The one there, there's quite a cluster underneath there, and there's some down there. So, you know, and we've got new roots. Look, there's a new root just emerging there, and a newish root there. So if I put some more moss over there, that should it's really a question of making it easy to handle rather than anything else, because this doesn't need to be strapped down particularly. It's can't see what I'm doing, can you? I want to try and put some where these roots are, trying not to get it over the leaves. There we are, that's not so bad. So now, a bit of the old stuff I think got disturbed. I reckon if I can put a bit there, That will probably do for it, so it's not living moss, unfortunately. I haven't got any of that, but there we are. That's giving it some fresh moss, which is damp, so I don't need to do any more with that until tomorrow morning. Oh, there's an exposed root there. Let's put a little bit over that. That again. It helps that this one doesn't hang. It never has. It's always laid flat, so it's almost like it's sitting on the top level of a branch. But anyway, that I think will do for that one. So let's have a look at this funny little monopodial hybrid and see what we get out. Yeah, that bark is really quite nasty, but I don't think there's much chance of. Let's got that all the way. Let's try and get him back through the pot, but I'm not holding out any great hopes that I shall manage it, obviously, but the roots do seem to be quite good on this. I think that one isn't, it's not going to go. That one might, if I am very, very lucky. Got that one out. Now then, the pot's not very good, so I don't mind destroying the pot to try and save some roots if I can. I think in any case I've got more that size. I think it'll go back in there. Actually, most of these roots are pretty good. It's going to want a rinse under the tap or possibly in some rainwater because this is sticking very hard. But that, I think we've got quite a nice root system on there. Good and healthy, lots of branches and growing tips and what have you. Even the ones down there in the pot are doing things, but without a shadow of a doubt the bark is old. It's got really has got quite soft and rather brittle, so it's one reason why I've started to put the repotting date on a plant stick in the pot. Just makes it easier to keep tabs on where I am with things. Yeah, that I'm going to start damaging the roots if I keep trying to rip off the the bark from that. So I think the best thing to do now is to turn the video off and go and clean it up, and then see whether it can go back in that one or whether I've got another one to suit it. Okay, I've got as much of the bark off as I could. I had quite a job getting some of it off. This has got some of the strongest natural adhesive I've come across. So I've had all the roots in water to get them nice and pliable, and I'm going to put it in a slightly bigger pot, not a very much bigger pot, but the next sort of size up. It's not an air cone pot, but it's one that I've already banged holes in for another orchid. So try and tease as many of these roots down as I can. There are a lot of roots on this, which is obviously lovely. I'll have that any day of the week, of course. So get that down. I was turning the pot to try and persuade them to. That's trying to escape already. So that'll be out of the way before long anyway. When I first started keeping orchids, basically Phalaenopsis and the odd noble E-type dendrobium, I used to use it as the basis for watering water that I'd taken out of my fish tank, and the tank water would have been treated to remove any chlorine, never mind the fact it would have been in the tank for some time, and with fish in there it would have some nitrate, but the water round here comes from parts of the Peak District, and it contains calcium and magnesium. And then I got into things. I started to add fertiliser to the water. Stopped using the little pressing sticks because I couldn't. Oh, plastic thing stopped. I hope it's still recording. Is it still recording? I don't know. Yes, it is. The links failed to my tablet, so I'm a bit perplexed. So anyway, I started to use fertiliser. I seem to respond to that, and then people say, "Oh, you don't want to use tap water; you want to use rainwater." So I got myself a butt and started using rainwater, and of course that took away a lot of the calcium and the magnesium that was in the tap water. And over the next 2 or 3 years perhaps, things seemed to slow down. They didn't do as well. So I thought, what can we do? I tried a few things, and then I started CalMag, one or two other people seem to have success with. When I tried it at the recommended rate, which is 2 cc's per litre, they got leggy and a bit soft, and they didn't flower. And I talked to one of the gurus at the East Midlands Orchid Society, and he said, "Oh, try it at least half strength," which is what I've done. And ever since, most of the orchids have responded well, not all of them, but most of them seem to prefer it that way. So that's this Renanthera bella crossed with Phalaenopsis purple gem, and it's got another leaf coming up. So that's grown well, as you see. We've got lots of roots down in that, all the way through that pot before we even start. So that's that bit. If you notice a slight difference in the lighting conditions, it's because it's now somewhat later than the last time I was videoing. I've had an abortive visit up to a garden centre, to try and get a little bit more of the Westland compost, and couldn't. So I'm going to do the one that I think is going to need it most, which is this one. But I think before very much longer I'm going to end up having to probably pack it out with some ordinary coarse bark, and then see how we get on. So for a start, I'll get this piece of tire out these wire doobies, which I used the last time I repotted it to try and hold it upright. I don't know when it was done, that's the problem. So, it's not something that I normally keep tabs on, but let's have a look and see what's happening. A little concerned I might end up with a lot of rather ratty roots down in the bottom. Is coming away considerably more easily than the Doritis hybrid, Renanthera Phalaenopsis hybrid, I should say, to be as correct as I can be, but yeah, although we've got some good roots, I think, as I suspected, that this has been in there too long. The bark in the Western stuff is never that wonderful. The big difference is it's got this ceramics in, and I only wish there was a way to fish it out, because it does help quite a lot. But I mean, really, there is a fair bit of a root that probably wants cutting away. So let me turn everything off and I'll do that, and then the dog will be able to see the rabbit, I think. Okay, I've had a go at the roots. I've not tried to do too much. It's surprisingly reasonable. There are some sort of ratty roots in there, but not too many. Surprisingly, really, given all the problems that I got rid of all of that. Again, like that, Renanthera Phalaenopsis hybrid, some of the stuff is difficult to get off, but the bark was well ratty. So I don't know how much good this is going to do, because if I put a coarse bark in the bottom of there, or a coarser bark in the bottom of there, the risk is that the finer stuff that comes in this Western bag will simply work its way down in there and still block everything up. But it seems happy enough in the Westland stuff at the moment. So I think we'll try that and see how we get on. And I've had enough to at least do this one. I haven't had to use the stick. It's nice and firm in there anyway. I say, I put some core stuff in the bottom. I've put the Westland finish bark and Ceramis in over the top, which is what it seems to have liked before. So now with a good rinse to get a lot of the dust out, because it is quite a dusty stuff. It's down at the bottom of the bag. That should be fine for another couple of years, hopefully. But it's got a reasonable amount of roots. We've got some new growths and we've got some active roots. So all I can do is keep my fingers crossed that that's actually going to go. I mean, one of the problems with Zygonisia is they're not keen on being repotted. But there you go, there's not much you can do about that. You've still got to do it and not leave it so long that you risk causing damage. So that's that. I don't think I've got enough to do the little path, so I might have to wait until I get some more to do that. That seems to be okay, or more okay than I thought this one was. So that's this one.